that was great, I think. This stuff here in the physical realm and stuff like Kelsey was just talking about, the projects, like the environment, how we're seeing that things are being revealed about the air being poisoned and the water being poisoned and the food being poisoned, and these things are taking place here. It seems like almost out of control. The powers that be, the flunkies for the reptilians or the religions or whatever it is, don't seem to really be caring at all about our environment. But this stuff, this guidance, this new presentation, these wonderful worldwide educators are providing a way to give hints and I guess you just call it guidance, how to get out of these psych realms so you don't have to return into this nonsense anymore in worse bodies or robotized bodies, and be free and be wonderful. That's like the word wonderful and wonderful worldwide educators. This could be very, I guess you could call it fun, the adventure, with the guidance and the involvement. They have a real purpose in life. Instead of wondering, find out, having the opportunity to find out for yourself. I guess you'd call it a lot about life anyway, because there's no end to finding out all about life. I was just thinking that maybe someone would like to, Val or Henry, or talk about this involvement with the natural environment, like trees and the all solar research vessels, plans to help mankind, for everybody. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Tim, I heard a good story today, and it demonstrates kind of what people are doing or not doing in the world. And it's about Kit Carson, and he lived in the 1800s. He was a scout, a tracker, a transcontinental courier. He helped John Fremont open up California here. Indian fighter. He was an all-around mountain man in those days. And they had these penny novels in those days, like Blood Thunder, it was called, and they'd write about these cowboys and Indian fighters and soldiers and all. I think it was like late 1800s or early 1900s. Very popular, these little booklets. And he was part of he was certainly part of being the hero in these booklets. Anyway, he was out with the cavalry one day. Well, he was part of the group there, and then they got word that along the Santa Fe Trail, I guess the wagon train or some settlers were attacked by the Apaches, and all the men were killed, and a woman, I believe her last name was White. I'm not sure if it's Sarah White, but it's White. Her name's White, last name, and then a Negro slave and her baby were captured by the Indians, so they were taken by the Indians. So Kit Carson and the soldiers were told to go find the lady and the slave and the baby. So eventually he did track them down. Took like a month or something like that, and then because he could read sign and he lived with the Indians, he was good. So he was able to track him down. Actually, by that time, the Indians had left the camp, and the woman was there, and they found an arrow in her heart. She had died. No sign of the baby or the Negro slave. But the thing is, the story is that she had next to her one of these booklets with Kit Carson as the hero. And supposedly this is a true story, but, I mean, the historians seem to think this is actually true. But this story in this booklet goes that a woman was captured by the Indians and taken to camp, and Kit Carson was called out to save her, and he did. He came to save her. He took her back to St. Louis and all that. And it was a happy ending. And she had this booklet next to her, and she was dead. So there's two things that demonstrates. Well, Kit Carson, he was a friend of the Indians, but as well he did commit to the Navajos. He was told to basically destroy them. He cut off their water supply. He starved them to death. He killed women and children. He just raised everything. So he was told to do this from above, from the hierarchy. And he was just doing his job. And I think most people today are just doing their job, and trying to be good people and, trying to make it best they can. But what they're getting from the hierarchy or, from their bosses is to keep quiet, shut up if you see anything, don't be a whistleblower, just do your job, just keep your head down. And it just parallels, what he knew. He knew. I mean, the Indians were his friends, but he was destroying them. So the people today are destroying the environment. They're doing things that are not of a benefit for anybody. They can see that. I mean, even just subconsciously or consciously, they see it, but they're just driven by their paychecks, and people tell them, you lose your job if you don't. So that's one thing I saw, like a demonstration of the people just need to take the risk, make the decision to want to seed more. That's not going to happen any other way. And if we could just follow the routine and the business as usual, it's gonna keep going downhill. And the other thing with this story, you could say what it demonstrates is she had this booklet, and she was probably reading it at the time. I mean, she had it on her person. It was there next to her body with some of her other belongings. So she had it in her mind that maybe, she was going to get saved by Kit Carson or somebody, So this is, again, most people are like thinking that their religion or spiritual path, politicians, the scientists, with their great technology, somebody's going to work it out and make it better. But you can see it's not getting better. It's just not going that way. And people can't rely on a savior or somebody to take care of things, and we each have to take care of things our own way, the best we can. And Kit Carson, near the end of his life, he said, I don't know if I did bad or good, but I did the best I could. And I think most people are like that, but they really need to, with this opportunity now, that if you're listening to this, you hear this, there's a opportunity, great opportunity to see more and to really get the right knowledge and the guidance and the education that you need to step out, like Tim said, step out of this matrix world creation into the real universes, into something real that makes sense. So we're here for everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Val. That was really good stuff to spread those words. as we see this world, the whole world is drowning in its own nonsense. People have no idea about changing things for the better. It seems like the vehicles and all these engines poisoning the air constantly, and millions and millions and millions of them zooming all over the earth all the time, every day, poisoning the air and burning the oxygen, and besides all the other, whatever you want to call it, nonsense going on, how these governments are building things that could destroy this very earth, or have already built the bombs big enough to blow it to pieces, it seems like, or at least make it so there's no more air or anything for anything to practically survive, unless they're inside of their planet or something like that with their own sources of oxygen and food. But this is such an opportunity that for people to get involved all over the earth. I guess those that are ready, and it doesn't seem like at the present there's very many on earth that are ready to pay attention and guidance and education, because they're so wrapped up in their personal lives they don't want to think about or have anything to do with anything else but getting more money or their sex lives or the things of this world. It's quite an experience, that's for sure, to live in this world at this time, when any time it can be blown up. I guess that's very possible the way things are going, or at least come back in this human farming prison planet as a robotized being, a slave for these authoritarians or brutalitarians or reptilians or whatever you want to call these beings that seem to have such power and influence, whether it's the religions like the Pope or the governments or the military stuff. But while we're here experiencing this bunch of stuff that's going on, this all-natural environment is a hint of this all is. How wonderful it could be if the water was pure and the air was pure and the food was good and there wasn't wars and starvation and on stuff that we see that's on this earth that we don't really have much of a way to change it. All we can do is put out whatever efforts we have to, like, ideas or whatever it is, that plant trees or grow foods. But then again, these authoritarians seem to be so brutal, and anything that a person's trying to do good for all, they want to prevent that from happening and keep everybody as their slaves and to be worshipped. They want people to act like they're so great or something and they're better than everybody else, or like presidents or politicians or popes or kings, and on and on. This material world, these lessons, I guess, are the hardest of all the lessons that we go through. But then we have these other realms too. If we don't pay attention when we're given the opportunity, how do we know if we're ever going to have the opportunity come again in another life or something? It's like we hear of hell and stuff like that in an astral plane. If you've done terrible things here on earth, that the lords of karma would be placing you in a place where you wouldn't want to be, where it even seems worse than this physical realm with its nightmares that we have to observe and experience, like with real vampires and werewolves or whatever you want to call these things that are I don't know if you want to call them scary, but to have to deal with for who knows how long, depending on what a person's attention or actions have been. That's another thing we could talk about too, is these lords of karma and these gods of man, like the one on the astral realm that the religions seem to think is God Almighty and the all-knowing and all-powerful, and call him Jehovah or by different names. Same guy, I guess. But they're still below the lords of karma. So if they were to do certain things to us experiencing this material realm, they'll have to deal with the lords of karma themselves. So they're just beings that been hinted at that all they are is conquerors to get to those positions, like Jehovah, and then his brother Grog, I guess is the name Dwayne calls him, and Dwayne has claimed to have met these gods of man. I guess Grog is on what's called the mental plane. So just for anyone listening, does anyone have any experience in the other realms they'd like to mention to others about it? Has anyone met any of these gods of man or beings that they like, the universal guides in their dreams or in their lives mention?
Hi, Tim. This is Henry here.
Yeah, hi,
I've
Henry.
had a few experiences. I've had a few experiences with the guides, but what I'd like to say is that we all actually meet the influence and the... Yeah, so we all meet the overseers in various ways in our lives here. And the easiest way to see it is by the restrictions that people agree to. You can talk to people and you can hear their reasons for not doing things, such as waking up and supporting others, and they talk about things like laws and just various restrictions that they agree to all the time, and they're very unaware and unconscious of where this agreement comes from. But really it comes from the third level and the Kalam God who controls most of creation. People don't realize that they're unconsciously agreeing to this nonsense every day while they're here on the earth. And so everybody is going around and they're poisoning and polluting and just doing what they're basically indoctrinated to do. And so I personally don't recall any experiences right now where I've met the Kalam God, but I haven't met him face to face. But I have a lot of experiences on the real side where these unaware dark entities are trying to stop me from creating a real benefit for others here. And so everything, all the negative forces within creation come from there. And we're not about the positive or the light or anything. We're about just being real and that everybody can recognize what they really is, which is the free being of real light. And that's, like you said, where the guides come in and they can show people, that they are way more than what they've agreed to for so many lifetimes, which is basically people have come here and agreed to be slaves to the reptilians until they recognize more. And yeah, it's gotten to the point where things are so bad here that it's really easy for people to take the time to see more than what they've agreed to, but surprisingly, so many people are happy to keep going on and doing what they've always done, which is agreeing to the people like the Calum God. Well, he's not a person, but the people that are implementing what he decides on the mental level all the way till down here on the physical. And a lot of people, they don't recognize that, you know, this physical stuff is just one dimension, and we all have these other bodies, like you mentioned, Tim. The astral and mental are very prominent in people's lives, and the causal as well. And most people are unaware of their etheric body and their subconscious. And people, you know, they don't pay attention to their dreams. And you know, most of this lifetime I've had dreams and thought they were so cool, but I never really paid too much attention because I was, you know, growing up in this world where everybody says those things are just, you know, they're just dreams. They're not real. But realistically, they are more real than what we experience here on the physical plane most of the time, because on the real side, these things are less dense and more fluid, which is, you know, more of a close resemblance to the real universes. So I've met the guides a few times, or however many, it doesn't really matter, and it's cool to see them and learn from them, and yeah, it's nice, it's wonderful, and realistically, we can all be like them here and now, and we're just going through our process to recognize what it really is, which the guides have already done. So it's pretty cool having them around on the real side and having Dwayne here on the physical to talk to on the Skypes and listen to all the recordings and read his books and stuff. So yeah, it's a very privileged and grateful position to be in here once you really see what makes sense and you decide to do something that makes sense for everyone and for all of life, and just put life first and just keep going and make sense of things and just stay. As long as you're now and doing what makes sense now, you'll always be okay and just continually become more aware, which is what we're all doing, and slowly more people are seeing what we're doing, and it's not about numbers, just simply sharing something wonderful for everyone, which is what Dwayne started for all of us when he decided to come here, and maybe we all decided to come here to do the same thing so that more people can have a real life that they haven't recognized or known was even possible. So yeah, it's a real adventure, and yeah, it's always new now, and we're just starting. So yeah, thanks, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Henry. Yeah, isn't it something that if we look at life like there's something more than we've ever known going on, and if we really want to know things like this guidance and education being offered, then we have to check it out for ourselves. Like Dwayne talks about being a real risk taker. It's like if you decide this is what you want to keep experiencing on Earth the way your life is, you just get old and go through the process of having to come back in another body and do it over and over again until a person has got to the point where they had enough of this material lessons with doing the same old thing over and over and over again for lifetime after life, whether it's just the work and whatever the family life is, and and then we have these cabal or Illuminati or whatever, and these powers that are on this physical plane. I guess it's part of our lessons why it is that they seem to hate people and like to see people suffer. They get, I don't know if you call it pleasure or actually if they live off of us like vampires are, draining our energy, taking, I guess, what's it called, loose or something. But it's all sounds very strange to a person, maybe if you're hearing about this stuff the first time. But you have to decide for yourself and take the risk if there's some reason that you think that you'd like to find out for yourself. If there's some reason that you've came here back into this manifestation stuff, Earth realm, if you feel like it's time to try something different, to see for yourself about what life's all about that we haven't ever experienced. Oh, was there anyone else that wanted to mention anything about meeting with any of the gods of man or experiences with the real guides they'd like to share, or anything about awareness about these beings like the lords of karma?
Well, like it was said that they're under the karmic rules too, so they're limited and restricted in their own way too. Although they have more awareness than the normal Joe on the street, but they still have a ways to go. And then Dwayne often talks about how they have the opportunity to wake up too and make better decisions. And we are being listened to. I mean, you gotta face that we, as well as other, public, are being listened to and monitored. So those that are listening to us have the chance to wake up, just like anybody else. You can't even be, you can't be too evil. I mean, you could, as evil as you are, or negative, you could still have a chance to wake up, turn around, and do something better for yourself and for others.
Yeah, this opportunity seems to be a real treasure for those that have gone through so many lifetimes of the brutality and making slaves out of them and torturing them and eating them, or what, all these experiences. I was just looking at something Dwayne said. He says, your real awareness is about recognition. We are here to recognize our real awareness. And everyone has a unique awareness. That's why we're here. It sounds like that hint about recognition, of becoming aware. Did anyone else have anything they wanted to mention about the real guides, or when they're having experiences with them, to any guidance that they feel that real guides gave them that was very important in their life? Guess as we've spent an hour trying to share about the opportunity of being offered to sing the new you, like 10, 15 minutes every evening before you go to bed, and in the morning, 10 to 15 minutes when you wake up, and find out for yourselves what life reveals to you, what life shows you. You have to test it for yourself and see what life reveals to you. That's the magic key, is singing the new you. Sincerely, the real guides see that if you're really wanting, or that's the word, to find out about why you're here. Anyway, does anyone else have anything they'd like to mention on the show today? Or we could just together next Wednesday again. There'll be let's see, tomorrow, is it tomorrow evening that Kelsey and Henry have a blog talk radio show at, is it 8 o'clock and 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time?
Oh, we don't have a show this week. Next week.
Oh. So, I guess it's about focus. It's not just carrying an idea around. It's get involved, take part, have fun. This opportunity is something that's a very big treasure for some people that have been given it and are experiencing finding a real purpose in their life and doing wonderful things for everybody. And I guess it's not just this physical realm. There's a lot more going on that our little human minds don't have any idea of. So I guess I'll end the Blog Talk Radio show today with singing the New Year. Would everybody want to take a turn singing it?
New you. We all three did it here.